Hello, I'm Amara Jones and welcome to Caffeine TV, your daily video news brief, here to take you through 3 headline numbers in just 3 minutes, giving you a different take on everything from housing policy to the Real Housewives. Well, today's show is going to be a tad bit heavy. The first number up today is 9:52, as in 9:52 a.m. That's the time at which panicked phone calls began to flow into the 911 system of Ottawa, Canada, that nation's capital. Now, that was the time at which Michael Zehaf-Bibeau shot and killed a soldier guarding that nation's war memorial, and then Michael proceeded to run across the park, entered that nation's parliament, shooting it up until he himself was shot and killed. Luckily, no one else was injured, but it was a scene right out of 24, a real life 24. Now, clearly these events left Canada rattled, and last night that nation's prime minister took to the airways to try to calm everyone down, but said that these were acts of terror. Now, there's a question about the possibility of whether or not ISIS is involved. As a matter of fact, ISIS has been posting messages on Facebook encouraging individuals in the nations who live in the coalition against it, those nations that are currently bombing it, to take individual action against soldiers that happen to be walking around and living their lives. And if this is the case, this is a worrying turn for how terrorism is unfolding in Canada and around the world, and gives us something new to worry about. But it also raises a question of something that I've asked here before, which is whether or not the campaign against ISIS is perhaps creating more problems than it's solving. The next number up today is 66. That's the number of counts that 4 members of the Blackwater security firm were convicted of yesterday. Now, Blackwater is that private security firm that was hired by the U.S. military during the Iraq war to perform a range of services because we didn't have enough troops on the ground. But Blackwater, because it was a private company, was outside of the chain of command and ended up being off the chain, which is how they ended up massacring 17 Iraqi civilians and then injuring another 14. Now, it took 7 years for Iraq to get justice, but justice came, and in that time, Blackwater has rebranded itself into Academy. I don't know what they're teaching, but all of this just goes to show us that as we stand on the cusp of a third Iraq war, we're still accounting and untangling ourselves from the impact of the last one, which just goes to show you that whenever you enter into military conflict, it's like sliding down the rabbit hole in Alice in Wonderland, and you don't know where you're going to end up. The last number up today is 1, as in the first of 3 autopsy reports of Michael Brown. Now, you'll remember that there were 3 autopsy reports of Michael Brown, the first by the local government, the second by his family, and then the third by the federal government. And somehow, this first one yesterday ended up in the hands of the St. Louis Dispatch, who says that it shows that Officer Wilson's account of what happened that day has evidential support, that it is supported by the autopsy. Now, this isn't the only leak that's occurred against Michael Brown. There was that videotape of him intimidating that convenience store clerk and stealing some cigarillos. There was that toxicology report which showed that he had been smoking marijuana. And there was even the leak out of the grand jury, which is supposed to be private, saying that they may not hand down an indictment against Officer Wilson because there's not enough evidence to do so. Well, usually when there are this many leaks in a case, it means that someone's trying to taint the jury pool. And we shouldn't necessarily be surprised that this is occurring in Ferguson, but it just goes to show that the justice efforts that are ongoing there to make sure that justice is done need to continue.